is Pointless, the quiz show where the lowest scorers are the biggest winners. To stay in the game, our contestants need to score as few points as possible. And to do that, they have to keep coming up with answers that no one else can remember. We've asked all our questions on Pointless to 100 people before the show. All our contestants have to do is find those unknown answers none of our 100 people gave. So, for example, we gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many feature films starring Tom Cruise as they could, and we found out that 86 of them said Top Gun, an obvious answer that would score you a horribly high 86 points. However, only 20 of them said Rain Man, a lesser-known film that would score you a respectably low 20 points. Occasionally, there are even some answers that none of our 100 people could name. So, for example, none of them said Lions for Lambs, so that would have been a truly pointless film that would score you absolutely nothing. Brilliant. That's what you want. If you find any of those, then we will add 200.
We're married. We met about 12 years ago, and we've been married for 10 years in December.
Now, you managed to get through to the head-to-head on last show. In fact, you did pretty well right up until then, didn't you?
Yeah.
What went wrong?
It was Robert's fault.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rob, it was actually your fault entirely. But best of luck for this afternoon's show. Of course, there is one final person that I need to introduce to you all. He is the keeper of all the pointless facts and figures. He is my pointless friend. It's Richard.
Yeah, that's right, Alexander. I've got all the facts about the questions we're going to be asking today. So at the end of each round, I'll go through all the pointless answers we've got. And of course, pointless answers are those answers that none of our 100 people gave. I'll also go through the worst answers you can give, which are the most obvious ones. I should point out, you don't know any of the questions on today's show or any of the answers. So if you need any help during the show, I'd like to think I'm the man you might turn to.
I would, of course I would.
Also, we don't get very many pointless answers on the show. We've had, I think, 8 across the series, but we have Marcia, who gave us a pointless answer, so she's got form.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Richard. Friday's finalists, Emily and Lucy, failed to win the jackpot of £7,000. We're adding another £1,000 to today's jackpot, so the total stands at an unbelievable £8,000. And we really are hoping that someone can win that today. And if you find some pointless answers along the way, each one of those will add £250 to that amount. So, let's play Pointless. In the first round, each of you must give me one answer, and you cannot confer with your partner. You'll score 1 point for every one of the 100 people that gave that same answer. And remember, this is pointless, so you're trying to find the least well-known answers and score the fewest points. If anyone gives me an incorrect answer, they will score the maximum of 100 points, so do be careful. If you do give an incorrect answer, this will happen. really don't want to see that. At the end of the round, your combined score will be totalled up and the highest scoring pair will be eliminated. Only 2 pairs will make it through to our head-to-head semi-final, so the pressure is on. Our first category is geography. Geography. Can you all decide in your pairs who's going to go first? Right, whoever's going first, please step up to the podium. OK, let's find out what our question's going to be. We gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many countries in Africa as they could. Richard, can you elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, sometimes there's not an awful lot of extra information I can give. 2 big notes here. They've got to be countries and they've got to be in Africa. Those are the 2 rules I would stick by. They do have to be recognised by the United Nations, but apart from that, I give you free rein. Fill your boots.
How many countries are there in Africa?
There are... How many do you think there are in Africa?
I'm good at this.
Yeah, you usually get within 10 or 20 either way, don't you?
Usually, yes. I'm going to say there's probably somewhere around 50. No,
53. There's 53. That's very good.
Oh, that is good. That is good. OK, right, Ben and Becky, before the show you all drew lots, and today it turns out that you will be starting us off. So, Becky, give us your best shot.
Out of the 53, I probably know about 3.
Well, let's hope they're 3 obscure ones.
Let's hope so. I'm thinking Algeria.
You're thinking Algeria.
Yeah.
Let's see how many of our 100 people said Algeria. It's a correct answer. It's not bad. 21. Well, that means that 21 of our 100 people said Algeria. Not a bad score to get us off the mark. Next pair, Christos.
I shall keep in with Becky and name a Northern African country, Chad.
Let's see how many of our 100 people said Chad. Well played, Christos. That means 13 of our 100 people said Chad and gives you a score of 13. On to our next pair, Geraldine.
Yes. Well, I hope this is a country there and not an enclave. I'm going to say Lesotho.
You're going to say
Lesotho.
Of course, if that's a wrong answer, you will score the maximum 100 points. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Lesotho. It's good. Very good indeed. Look at that. That's fantastic. That means 6 out of our 100 people said Lesotho, and that scores you 6, Geraldine and Sue. Richard, Lesotho.
Yeah, Lesotho, a lot of people do think of it as an enclave, but it is its own country, so a great answer.
Very good. On to our next pair, Marcia. We're looking for countries in Africa. What are you going to say?
I'm going to say Liberia.
Let's see how many of our 100 people said Liberia. Oh, it's very good. Look at that. That means 9 out of our 100 people said Liberia. That's another very impressive low score. OK, Deb and Rob, remember, we're looking for countries in Africa. What's it going to be, Deb?
I'm really, really rubbish at geography. I'm going to go with Durban.
OK, we're going to go with Durban. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Durban. Oh! Unfortunately, that is a wrong answer, which means you score the maximum of 100 points. Richard, Durban.
Yeah, it's a city, not a country. I said countries. I couldn't have been clearer, could I? African and countries. And
that's bad luck, Deb. It happens a lot on this show because you're trying to think of something as obscure as possible. You run the risk of saying something incorrect. OK, well, we're halfway through the round, so let's take stock of where we are. Well, looking around, Geraldine and Sue, you are doing best with the lowest score of 6. You keep scoring low like that and you will definitely be staying on for the next round. But I'm afraid, Rob and Deb, things aren't looking as good for you as you have scored the highest possible number of points with 100. We're now going to come back up the line, so could the second players please take their places at the podium. OK, Rob, we're looking for countries in Africa.
Try and be as obscure as I can. Niger.
Niger. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Niger. Well, it's good. It's very good. That means 11 of our 100 people said Niger, which brings your total up to 111. You are, I'm afraid, still the current highest scorers. So you've just got to hope that everyone else scores high. OK, Corin and Marcia. Rob and Deb have already scored 111, which is more than 100 points ahead of you. So whatever you say, you're definitely safe. So why not use this chance to find a pointless answer?
Yes.
And add £250 to your jackpot. We're looking for countries in Africa.
So anyway, I hope this one is there. It's ringing in my head, so let's go for it. It's Rwanda.
Rwanda. OK, let's see how many of our 100 people said Rwanda. Well, it's good. It's very good. That means that 7 of our 100 people said Rwanda, which takes your total up to 16.
Come on, David.
Sue and Geraldine, same for you. You're safe, whatever you say. So why not take a punt and go for a pointless answer that none of our 100 people could think of?
I'm going to say Egypt.
Egypt. OK, let's see how many of our 100 people said Egypt. It's good. Good. Not bad. 45. 45 out of our 100 people said Egypt. That takes your score up to 51. On to our next pair. You are currently on 13. Rob and Deb are our highest scorers at the moment on 111. You have to score 97 or less to be through to the next round. That red line there marks the point you have to pass. What are you going to say?
I think I will say Mali.
Let's see how many of our 100 people said Mali. Well, you're safe. Could it be pointless? It's good, it's good. 10! It's not a pointless, but it's very good. That means 10 out of our 100 people said Mali, and that takes your total up to 23. You are definitely through to the next round. On to our next pair, Ben and Becky. Remember, you are on 21. In order to be less than 111, Rob and Deb's current high score, you want to be scoring less than 89. Ben, what are you going to say?
Well, I've got a couple in mind, but I will say Eritrea.
You're saying Eritrea. Let's see how many of our 100 people went with Eritrea. It's good. Very good. Look at that. That's very impressive. That's our lowest score of the round. That means 3 out of our 100 people said Eritrea, which brings your total up to 24. So that's the end of round 1, and the losing pair with an appallingly high score are Rob and Deb. I'm sorry. You got through to the head-to-head on Friday. You did fantastically well. You came within a whisker of getting into the jackpot final. Sadly, today, you've fallen at the first. What was tough there, do you think?
Geography.
I'm rubbish
Just
at geography.
geography. Dear, oh dear. Well, you've been spectacular contestants. Thanks very much indeed. Thank you. So, Richard, if they'd wanted to stay in the game, what should they have said?
Well, there were 6 pointless answers in that round, so 6 that no one in our 100 mentioned. The first one of which is Central African Republic, which actually we've had before as a pointless answer. It was a pointless answer on countries beginning with C.
Yes,
If I was president of the Central African Republic, a big if, I know that, I think I'd have a word with my PR people. No one's heard of it. The Seychelles is a pointless African country, no offence, and Sao Tome and Principe. There are 3 more. Equatorial Guinea.
Obviously.
Djibouti.
Yep.
As in Sheikh Djibouti. And the Cape Verde Islands.
And Cape Verde.
Those are your 6 pointless answers. The top 3 answers, these would have been the worst things you could have said. Egypt, we had from Sue, but better safe than sorry, I think, in that situation. Number 2, any guesses?
Kenya.
Kenya.
Kenya's the right answer, and top answer, anybody?
South Africa.
South Africa, which of course is where Durban is, which did for you.
Well, thanks very much for that, Richard. Rob and Deb, that was your second and final chance on the show, so I'm afraid we do have to say goodbye, but for the remaining 4 pairs, it's time for round 2. OK, guys, and the round 2 category is music. Music. So can you decide in your pairs who's going to go first and who's going to go second?
Your choice. I don't mind.
OK, right. Whoever's going first, please step up to the podium. Now, remember, Pointless is all about scoring the fewest points. You are looking for the answers that the fewest of our 100 people said. OK, let's find out what the question is. We gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many UK Christmas #1 artists as they could. Can you be more specific than that, Richard?
Yeah, we're looking for the name of any artist or group who've had a Christmas #1 in the official UK Top 40 since 1980. That's the key. There are 26 of them, and looking down the list, it genuinely looks like the world's worst compilation album.
OK, very good. Well, Ben and Becky, you are first. Ben, you're the first to answer.
The only one I can think of is a really obvious one, but it's Band Aid.
OK, Band Aid. Just going to remind you that, of course, the object is to get the lowest score possible.
Yeah.
OK, Band Aid. Well, let's see if any of our 100 people remembered that. Band Aid. Not bad. Not bad. 30. That's surprisingly low. 30 of our 100 people said Band Aid, and that means you score 30. On to you, Christos and David. Christos, what are you going to say?
To play safe, I'm going to go with a fellow Cypriot, George Michael.
Let's see how many of our 100 people said George Michael. Christos, unfortunately, that is a wrong answer, which means you score the maximum of 100 points. Richard, George Michael.
Yeah, he's had a lot of #1s, but he's never had a Christmas #1. Funnily enough, he was actually stopped from Christmas #1 by Band Aid, of all things.
Really?
Yeah, back in '84.
On to our next pair. Remember, we are looking for UK Christmas #1 artists, Sue and Geraldine. Sue, what are you going to go with?
Well, the one obscure one that I know, I think it was probably 78, 79, so I can't say it now. So I'll go with a real obvious one, Cliff Richard.
Cliff Richard. Oh, yes, of course. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Cliff Richard. 63 of our 100 people said that. That gives you a score of 63. Never mind. Geraldine might save the day yet on the next pass. On to our next pair, Marcia and Corin. Marcia, what are you going to go for?
OK, I'm going to go for one that was a one-hit wonder. And I'm going to go for Mr. Blobby.
Mr. Blobby. Fantastic. So let's see how many of our 100 people said Mr. Blobby. Oh, it's good. Look at that. Oh, 18. Very good indeed. That means 18 of our 100 people said Mr. Blobby, and you now have a score of 18. OK, well, let's see where we are. We're halfway through the round. Corin and Marcia are doing incredibly well with the lowest score of 18. But David and Christos, things aren't looking that hot for you. You have got the highest possible score of 100. Right, OK, we're going to come back up the line. Will the second players please take their places at the podium? OK, remember, we are looking for UK Christmas #1 artists. The more obscure, the better. Corin, you are currently on 18. The high score at the moment is David and Christos on 100. If you want to be absolutely safe, you want to score 81 or less. Your turn.
I feel like I'm taking a huge gamble with this. It's quite controversial, but I'm going to go for Antichrist.
Antichrist.
Yeah.
That's good. Marcia thinks that's really funny. Let's hope she still does after we've seen how many of our 100 people said Antichrist. Oh! Before I say, what were you thinking? I'm going to hand...
It was one!
Richard, well, unfortunately, that is officially a wrong answer. That means you score 100 points. Let's go to Richard and find out why.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where to begin. If you've got any more information on Antichrist and his/her Christmas number one...
It was the Ace of Spades. Oops.
Yeah, I think Antichrist version of the Ace of Spades was just picked by Band-Aid, I think, was it? I think.
OK, so on to our next pair. Geraldine. Corin and Marcia are our current high scorers on 118. To be absolutely safe, you want to be scoring 54 or less. There's the red line. You have to be below that.
Yes.
What are you going to go with?
Well, being a great music lover and really liking sort of really good music, I'm going to go for Bob the Builder.
Bob the Builder. Let's see how many of our 100 went with Bob the Builder. Ooh, it could be good. You're safe. You're better than safe. Look at that. Well done, Geraldine. That means that 11 of our 100 people said Bob the Builder. That takes your total to 74. You are safe.
Thank you.
On to our next pair, David and Christos. You've been thrown a lifeline by Corin's incorrect answer there, because you were the highest scorers before. You need to get 17 or less with your answer. We are looking for UK Christmas #1 artists.
Pet Shop Boys.
Pet Shop Boys. Is that a stab in the dark? Of course, if that's a wrong answer, you will score the maximum 100 points. Let's see how many of our 100 people thought the Pet Shop Boys. It's good. Oh, you're in. And... Now that... Richard, the Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah, 1987, always on my mind was Christmas #1. Wow.
OK, and finally, Becky and Ben. You're currently on 30. Corin and Marcia are on 118. They're our current high scorers. To be absolutely safe, you want to be scoring 87 or less. There's the red line, the magic line. You have to come below. What are you going to say?
I think I'm just going to stick with a safe one that I know is reasonably obscure. The Darkness.
The Darkness. Let's see how many of our 100 people said The Darkness. Ah! Unfortunately, that is a wrong answer. Oh, Becky.
I thought that was a #1. I really did.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. You score the maximum of 100 points. What a huge relief for you, Corin and Marcia. Woohoo! At the end of that round, the losing pair with the highest score is Ben and Becky. You have been fantastic on the show. Thanks. Richard, put us out of our misery on all these issues.
Well, yeah, let's talk about The Darkness. They released Christmas Time, brackets, Don't Let the Bells End. And in 2003, it got to #2. It was kept off #1 by Mad World, by Gary Jules and Michael Andrews, which is another fantastically obscure one.
Was that a pointless?
It was not a pointless, believe it or not. One person said that. There were 5 answers that none of our 100 people gave. You can take a look at them. Human League, Don't You Want Me was a Christmas #1. Jackie Wilson, Reet Petite.
Fantastic.
Rennie and Renato, so Winifred School Choir, and then the Flying Pickets with Only You.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, Richard. Well, OK, Ben and Becky, we have to say goodbye to you for today, but we'll see you next time for your last chance. But for the remaining pairs, it's time for round 3. Only 2 pairs will make it through to the head-to-head, so this is your final chance. All of you need to find those low-scoring answers to stay in the game. The round 3 category is Olympics. Olympics. So who's going to go first and who's going to go second? OK, whoever's going first, please step up to the podium. And let's find out what the question is going to be. We gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many Olympic host cities as they could. Richard, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, we're looking for any of the host cities of the modern Summer Olympics since the first one in 1896. There are 22 different answers here. And don't forget, that's the cities it was held in, not the countries, just looking for the cities.
Thanks, Richard. David and Christos, you are going first. David, what are you going to say?
I will have to say Berlin.
Berlin. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Berlin. It's not bad. 33. That means 33 of our 100 people said Berlin. Your score is 33. Richard, Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin, of course, held the Olympics in 1936. I believe there was some controversy, and they didn't hold it in Germany again for a little while. I can't remember the reason. They steered quite clear of Germany for a bit.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. On to our next pair, Sue.
Do I play safe or do I take a risk? Oh, I'm not a gambler. I'll play safe. Sydney.
Sydney. OK, let's see how many of our 100 people said Sydney. Not too bad. That means 47 of our 100 people said Sydney. You have a score of 47. Richard, Sydney.
Yeah, of course, in 2000. Very, very recent one, but obviously not that memorable.
No, weirdly.
Yeah.
Just to remind you, we are looking for Olympic host cities. The more obscure, the better. On to the final pair. Corin, what are you going to say?
Hello. It's definitely not going to be obscure. I'll go for Barcelona, because it's a stab in the dark, Barcelona.
Let's see how many of our 100 people said Barcelona. It's the right answer. Not bad. Not bad, 34. That means 34 of our 100 people said Barcelona. You have scored 34. Richard, Barcelona.
Yeah, Barcelona, 1992, transformed the whole city.
OK, we're halfway through the round. Let's see how we are on the scores. Well, David and Christos are doing pretty well at 33 with the lowest score. I'm afraid things aren't looking quite so good for Sue and Geraldine on 47. OK, so we're coming back down the line. Can the second players please take their places at the podium? OK, Marcia, it's your turn. What are you going to go for?
But I'm going to say Beijing.
Beijing. The highest scorers at the moment, as I said, are Geraldine and Sue on 47. That means you really want to be scoring 12 or less to be absolutely safe. There's the red line you want to be getting below with Beijing. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Beijing. Ooh. Well, that means 39 of our 100 people said Beijing. That takes your score up to 73. I stand corrected. On to our next pair, Geraldine. Corin and Marcia are our high scorers at the moment with 73, which means you want to score 25 or less to be absolutely safe. There's the red line. You want to be below that. We are looking for Olympic host cities. What are you going to go for?
I'm going to go for Atlantic City.
Atlantic City, OK. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Atlantic City.
Go. Go. Oh, it was Atlanta, wasn't it?
I'm afraid is a wrong answer, which means that you score the maximum of 100 points. That takes your total up to 147. That's great news for Marcia and Corin. Woohoo! Again. We move on to our next pair, and of course your score is 33. So even if you score the maximum, you still won't overtake their high score. What are you going to say?
I'll go for Tokyo.
Very confidently said. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Tokyo. not bad. It's not bad, and it's good enough. That means 29 out of our 100 people said Tokyo, and that takes your score up to 62. So at the end of round 3, the losing pair with the highest score are Sue and Geraldine. Bad luck, bad luck. Your hair's going to be green next time I see you, isn't it? Well, I'm sorry, but you've been fantastic. Thanks very much.
Cheers. Thank you.
But Richard, if they'd wanted to stay in, what should they have said?
Well, firstly, Geraldine's exactly right. It was Atlanta rather than Atlantic City for the 1996 Olympics. There were actually no pointless answers at all here. The 3 lowest answers, the 1912 Olympics were in Stockholm. The 1920 Olympics were in Antwerp. So who knew Belgium had the Olympics?
Who'd have known?
One guy. And I'm guessing it was a guy. And Amsterdam, which is 1928 Olympics with 2, but no pointless answers at all. And if we take a look at the top answers, any guesses? Number 3 we've already had from Sue, which was Sydney. Number 2, what would you think?
London.
London is top. London from 1948 is top. And number 2, the most famous?
Athens.
Athens is the right answer. Athens is number 2.
Well, thanks very much, Richard. OK, Sue and Geraldine, we have to say goodbye to you for today, but we will see you next time for your last chance. But for the remaining 2 pairs, things are about to get even more exciting as we enter the head-to-head. Well done. You've made it through to the head-to-head. Now, only one pair can make it through to today's final and play for today's jackpot, which currently stands at £8,000. OK, here's how the head-to-head works. You are now allowed to confer. Each team will take turns to give me an answer, and you'll each have an equal number of turns. The first team that accumulates more than 100 points, or the team that goes over 100 by the most, will lose. So, as always, to stay in the game, you want to score as few points as possible by saying the answers that the fewest of our 100 people gave. David and Christos, you performed best over the first 3 rounds, so not only do you get to decide whether or not to go first, you also get to choose the topic. And your choice is between comedy film series or alphabets. Comedy film series or alphabets. What are you going to go for?
Alphabets.
Alphabets, very good. And would you like to go first or second?
We shall go first.
OK, good. Let's play Pointless. OK, let's find out what the question is. We gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many NATO phonetic alphabet characters as they could. Richard, fill me in.
Yeah, we're looking for the words that represent letters in the NATO phonetic alphabet, also, of course, famously known as the International Radio Telephony Spelling Alphabet.
OK, very good. Thank you very much, Richard. Now, remember, you don't want to go over 100, so you want to score the lowest number of points each time. What are those phonetic, funny, lettery things that nobody else could think of? OK, David and Christos, you've elected to go first. What are you going to go with?
Quebec.
Quebec. Excellent. Let's see how many of our 100 people went with Quebec. It's the right answer. It's good. Oh, very good. 28. Not a bad score. You have scored 28 after your first answer. Corin and Marcia, what are you going to go for?
Okay, we're going to go for U for uniform.
Uniform. Let's see how many of our 100 people said uniform. Well, it's correct. It's good. Very good. 16 of our 100 people said uniform. You have scored 16 after your first answer. Now we go back to David and Christos for their second answer. We are looking for the NATO phonetic alphabet. There's a lot of head shaking.
J. Juliet.
J. Juliet. To avoid going over 100, you want to be scoring 72 or less. There's the red line. You want to be below. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Juliet. You're safe. 43. That takes your score up to 71. Corin and Marcia, your second answer, please. We are looking for characters from the NATO phonetic alphabet.
Okay, so yeah, let's try this. Indigo. I for indigo.
I for indigo. You are currently on 16. To remain under 100 and be safe, you want to be scoring 84 or less. There's the red line. You have to be below. I for indigo. If it's wrong, of course, you will score the maximum of 100 points. Let's see how many of our 100 people said I for indigo. That, I'm afraid, is an incorrect answer, which scores you the maximum of 100 points. You've had 2 turns each, and Corin and Marcia, you have gone over 100 points, so I'm afraid you know what that means. Well, thank you very much indeed. Anyway, you've been fantastic contestants. Thanks. So, Richard, before anything else, let's get to the bottom of Indigo.
Of Indigo Gate.
Indigo Gate.
Yeah,
I think I know what it is, actually.
Oh, what do you think it is?
It's India.
India is right, yeah. I is represented by India.
What other ones were there? What were the more obscure ones?
Well, there were no pointless answers. Funnily enough, Uniform was 16 was one of the lowest answers. Uniform and Whiskey both had 16. And Yankees got 20 points. There was a fairly even spread. The top ones, Charlie was 3rd, Delta was 2nd, and number 1 is Alpha, where it belongs. The Alpha answer.
The Alpha. Well, thanks, Richard. Corin and Marcia, that was your second and final chance on the show. You got so close, but you just didn't have that pointless knowledge you needed to get through to the final. So I'm afraid we do have to say goodbye. But for David and Christos, it's time for our pointless final. Congratulations, David and Christos. You've made it through to the end of Pointless. You've fought off 4 pairs and won our Pointless trophy. Now you've got a chance to win our Pointless jackpot. Nobody's won the jackpot for the last 5 shows, so at the end of today's show, the jackpot stands at £8,000. The rules are simple. To win the money, all you have to do is find a pointless answer that none of our 100 people could think of. It's something nobody has managed to do today. First, you must choose a category from these 3 options, and you can go for European Football Championships, film directors, or international flags. International flags, incidentally, has been up for 5 shows, so this is its last day on the shelf. Any of those grabbing you?
European Football Championships. Our sport is really one of our weakest subjects.
International flags, go on.
We'll take flags.
You will?
We will.
Yeah.
I didn't pressure you into that, did I?
No, we'll take flags.
We know next to nothing about the rest of it. So.
The other 2 are very...
International flags, this is wonderful. Good, so you're going to go with international flags.
OK.
OK, let's find out what the question is. So we gave 100 people 100 seconds to name as many red and white flags as they could. Richard.
Yep, it's good news for flag lovers everywhere. We're looking for countries whose flags have only red and white on it. Even if there's like a black outline on a figure on a flag, that doesn't count. And it's the national flags we're looking for, no state flags or civic flags, anything like that. National flags, only red and white. There are 17 of them.
17 countries.
Yep.
With red and white flags. OK, you have up to 1 minute to come up with the 3 answers, and all you need to win that £8,000 is just for one of those answers to be pointless. Your 60 seconds start now.
Poland, Monaco, Qatar. I'm stuck. Canada, Austria, Japan.
You can speak out loud.
Yeah.
No one can, doesn't matter if anyone hears you.
Red and white. Think of African countries. They're mostly greens and golds and yellows, but... Red. Oh, Turkey. Turkey is red and white.
Turkey, that's right.
But I think Qatar... I'm going to go with Qatar. That's
30
one of my
seconds
choices.
gone.
You can choose one.
Do you think?
You can choose one. Monaco. I'd say Monaco's a very... Yeah, Monaco.
It's Poland upside down.
It is.
Yeah. How many people have been to Qatar?
Well, Qatar,
10 seconds left.
It's not European countries, it's so people in Europe should...
Okay, I trust you.
Qatar, Monaco, and... what do you...
Your time is up. What are your three answers going to be?
Qatar,
Monaco.
Choose one.
I'm going to have to push you.
Poland.
And Poland. Qatar, Monaco, and Poland. This is for the £8,000 jackpot. You've got to hope that at least one of those answers is pointless. Remember, we are looking for red and white flags. Let's try your first answer. Let's see how many of our 100 people said Qatar. They're very hard, these jackpots. You've got to hope one of these is a pointless answer. How many of our 100 people said Qatar? Okay. It's the right answer. Down it goes for £8,000. It's got to go lower. It's got to go lower. Yeah! That is fantastic. That's for £8,000. Congratulations, you managed to find that all-important pointless answer. And you managed to get rid of international flags off our board. Thank you for that alone. But it means you go home with the jackpot of £8,000. I mean, this is...
Thank you.
This is new territory. Fantastic. You said you didn't really know much about flags.
No, Qatar, only because a friend of mine lives in Qatar.
Yeah.
And I just happened to remember it was red and white with a little squiggly line down the centre.
Fantastic. Well, you are our
It's
first...
the sort of pointless thing you notice,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, well,
Well,
and thank goodness for shows like this. Well, congratulations. You are our first ever winners on Pointless. You've been fantastic contestants. Richard, how's about that? Our first winners.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done, guys. And I can tell you, neither of your other answers would have won it for you. Monaco, one person said, and Poland, I think, got 19. So Qatar, absolutely brilliant. Well done. Congratulations. So hard to win that end game, and you did brilliantly. Very good indeed. Well, as I say, thanks very much. You've been fantastic contestants. Finally, someone has won our jackpot. Join us tomorrow when we put more obscure knowledge and forgotten facts to the test on Pointless. Goodbye from Richard. Goodbye. Goodbye from me. Goodbye.
If you haven't had enough quizzing, The Weakest Link is over on BBC One now. Is Dover Sole the dish that defines Kent? The Hairy Bikers are on a mission to find out at 5:15. And £71,000. It's just getting ridiculous. Eggheads is on BBC Two at 6.